Welcome back. Parts of this patch are going down rather interestingly. That's because there are rewards that people want. Rewards that cost tokens. Tokens that seem to come from a massive list of weekly activities. And worse, people are worried that those rewards will leave the game forever after this event, so there is a fear that you need to grind now. That's a very fair worry, but today's video is going to help you. I'll demystify everything, including what is staying around, what won't be staying around, and how acquisition works across the 11-week duration of this event, so that there's nothing you need to worry about, so you know how things are going on, and I'll also sprinkle in other tips, like for gear, leveling, and the very nice Blackened Defias set. FOMO, the fear of missing out. So this event is around until January 7th. People are worried they will not get some of the rewards. Here's the good news. The new armor sets, which are the remakes of Tier 2, those will return next year. That is directly confirmed by Blizzard, so if you're worried that you will not get a tier set that you want, well, you don't need to be. You can always grind it next year. Now, in-game, there is one NPC who suggests he will not be coming back soon, and that is Storekeeper Reginald. He's the guy who sells the big rewards from past events. That's things like the Obsidian Worldbreaker, the Core Hound, and the 5 pets like the baby Blizzard Bear. The good news is that those are at least not particularly expensive. Then there's the Cold Flame Mountain gear, themed after Blizzard's own employee rewards. I would consider these to be rewards for this year, and I would not expect those to return for quite a while. The good news is that, again, those are actually priced quite cheap, so there is zero worry about excessively grinding to get them. To put that in context, let's talk about the currency. Bronze Celebration tokens are primarily earned through a handful of weekly quests at the Caverns of Time, the already existing War Within weeklies, and a few one-off sources. There's actually another major method that will unlock fairly soon for you, depending on your progress, but let's just cover the costs. So first up, the items that will not return next year, the ones you'll really want to get. Those are the Obsidian Worldbreaker and Core Hound, which are 20 each, and the 5 pets that cost 10 each for a total of 90 tokens. Then the Cold Flame items. Each one of those costs 10 tokens for a total of 50. There's another pet, Little Doomy, and a toy, the Balloon Chest, which both cost 10. That means that we get a total of 160 tokens. Those are for the items that we will not expect to return next year. So if this was a 4-week-long event, that would certainly be alarming, but the good news is it isn't. This event is 11 weeks long. Now, beyond those, the only other way to spend your tokens is the Tier 2 remaster sets. The first one costs 60, your second will cost 40, and your third will cost 20. Combined then, that's a 320 token cost for every single one of these sets, but again, these will be back next year. And of course, most people are not playing one of every single class. I think a degree of uncertainty makes people think that they need to get all of these, because if they don't get one, it won't be back next year. Therefore, even if they do not play a class, they'll want to get it set just in case. Again, the good news is these are confirmed to be returning. Now, if we still wanted to be a maximalist for this event, that would be a total cost of 480 tokens. My result, though, from using this little calculator that I made, and I'll link down in the description, was 200 tokens. In my example, I've already got the Core Hound and the Worldbreaker, I want 4 tier sets, and I want all the Cold Flame stuff, and I don't care about the pets, so that's 200 tokens. If I didn't have those mounts, I would want them, and that would make my total 240. What I encourage you to do is to calculate your total, what you actually want. Get that token number, and now let's talk about how we're going to earn those tokens. I'll start with the most simple sources, which are the new weeklies located in the event grounds. Time the Gatecrashers asks you to kill 3 world bosses in Tanaris. This one is real quick, and if you find that people are not fighting the bosses, just fire up the pre-made group finder. That will save you loads of time waiting about. The next one is the Codex of Chromie. It is very fast to do as an event, but its DPS queue is very long. What you can do is just go healer or tank for that. You'll have a far faster queue, and don't worry about having to perform that much. It is essentially tuned to be a cakewalk. I don't even know why there's a tank or healer requirement. Then Blackrock Depths. That raid weekly is just to defeat the end boss. That means you don't need to do the entire raid. All you need to do is queue up for the third and final wing on LFR difficulty. The Time Walking weekly is just clearing 5 dungeons, and the event daily that grants you 10% bonus XP only awards tokens once a week. Finally then, you've got a Soldier Through Time to get 500 honor in Korax Revenge. This one took me about 30 minutes. I had 0 PvP gear on that character, I just hung around and joined the brawl. Then, of course, there are the Khazalgar weekly quests and activities that you've been doing since the start of the War Within. Those also award Bronze Celebration tokens. And to quickly summarize, there'll be a big weekly, which is either the Archives, Faerun, or Delves, along with all the usual things like your Awakening the Machine, Snuffling, the Lamplighter event, the Theater Troupe, your Special Assignment World quests, and so on, even including the weekend event quests like Dungeon Week or a Time Walking Week, whenever those are available, plus the PvP quests. And by this stage I know how you're feeling, that does look like quite the list of chores. Let's break it down by the numbers to see what we realistically want to get, and why we probably don't need to worry. Each week you can earn a total of 18 tokens from the Bronze Celebration quests, and around 17 from your regular Khazalgar weeklies. That's 35 tokens. If you were to do all of those across 11 weeks, you would get 398 tokens, including the 13 you get from the introductory quests, which is enough to buy most, but not all of the items. But again, a relatively small number of those items are exclusive. And for a player like me who only wants 200 tokens, well, that's fairly easy. And that's without counting the other sources of tokens that there will be. So the first one is the Guest Relations questline. This is going to start next week, and it's molded after a secret hunting event that Blizzard ran last year that people really enjoyed. It may have tokens. A second and far more important is the achievement you unlock once you collect 100 tokens. It will let you earn ungated tokens from World Bosses, Blackrock Depths raid bosses, Classic Time Walking queues, Codex of Chromie queues, and Korax Revenge dailies. Now, if these were a 100% drop rate of 1 token per lockout across your whole warband, it would actually be 92 tokens a week. If you add that to your weeklies, it would be 127 tokens a week, which would actually be enough to earn over double the maximum number of tokens that you can spend on items through the event. Now, it may not be that good, but I think the point basically is there will be a large source of tokens soon, and you likely don't need to worry. What's realistic then? Well, I'd say I'll probably earn about 25 tokens a week just through doing the weeklies. The Khazalgar ones are great sources of rep, which I've been doing to get my renowns, which is useful. The World Bosses, Time Walking, and Chromie are all things I'll do while I'm gearing and leveling alts. Just 25 tokens a week easily gets what I want from this, and once I unlock the 100 token achievement, I'll get way more from doing the World Bosses, Time Walking, and the raid. That means I'll probably overshoot what I actually want quite substantially throughout this event without really having to try that much. And again, if you feel you need absolutely everything, well, there will technically be enough tokens for you to do that. I wouldn't recommend it, it's not going to be fun, and the majority of the rewards will return next year anyway. So, do you need to get every single Tier 2 remaster? The answer is probably not. If you only wanted the Cold Flame stuff, plus 1 or 2 tier sets, that's like 140 tokens over 11 weeks. What about Timewarped Badges then? If you go to the Classic Time Walking vendor, you'll see it's got 34,000 badges worth of items, which could be a bit worrisome. But you don't need to worry. Classic Time Walking is going to be active for the entire duration of this event, and afterward, it will be a regular Time Walking event. Those rewards are not going away. The vendor has just got loads of items because it's a Time Walking vendor. It's a long-term feature just like every other Time Walking vendor in the game. That being said, you will earn loads of Time Walking badges during this event. An original path through time awards 500, and of course you'll get an item from your first end boss per character per week that awards 500, with alt completions getting you 300. Bosses in the Time Walking dungeons also drop 10 badges, while the end bosses drop 20, and they're fairly fast dungeons with plenty of bosses. That means you'll get a fairly substantial surge, and if I was to recommend anything, you should definitely check out the new weapons that are actually ported over from Season of Discovery, especially the two-handed sword. It's particularly cool. The next thing we want is the Cold Flame Tempest mount, and the good news is you need to do the Cool 20 Years achievement, which is not that hard. So what you need to do for it is to cast 1 vote at the Transmog event, match 1 mount at the mount event, use the pet mirror at the pet event, ride 1 of the balloons that's floating around the event grounds, defeat 1 of the non-Tanaris world bosses, defeat the Tanaris world bosses, do the Codex of Chromie, and finally, the Lore Walker Cho event. Basically, for it, you need to react 50 times, and the way that works is while he's telling stories, you'll sometimes get an extra action button. Just press the extra action button. It's essentially a bit of audience participation. And with these, you'll get half of them without even noticing, and the others will take just a handful of minutes, with Cho taking a few minutes a day for a few days. It's not particularly hard. One particularly nice surprise was the Blackened Defias set. You basically couldn't get this after the Cataclysm revamp. The good news is these items drop as bind on equip drops from Trash in the Dead Mines. They're BOEs, so you will be able to buy them or sell them in the auction house, and if you want the chest piece, well, you'll need to kill Edwin Van Cleef, as it's one of the things on his loot table. Let's talk about gearing then. So, your first Bronze Celebration cache will drop champion gear from BRD and a coffer key. The subsequent ones will drop veteran gear, which basically means it's pretty good for your ults, but it likely won't be that good for your main. Then there's also the Blackrock Depths weekly quest, which drops gear separately, and that will give you a piece of champion gear. So, 2 bits of champion gear and lots of veteran gear. Then the world bosses each give you a shot at veteran gear, and there will be 6 up a day, so that's 6 shots. And of course, there's the new raid. It's got 8 bosses and 5 mini bosses. The loot works just as you would expect because it's got the same loot levels as an Erebar Palace. But what's new and different is time-warped coffer keys. A full run will get you 40 of those keys for the difficulty level of that run. And you can actually use these keys to buy gear from these vendors who are at the event grounds. What this basically means is you can get pieces of gear that you want in a deterministic fashion, and you don't need to worry about RNG, which is particularly good for, say, buying a trinket or a weapon to fill out your character. Each run will also get you 115 difficulty appropriate crests, along with 30 crests from the next tier difficulty up, because the final 2 bosses just drop better crests. Okay, we've done loads of numbers and systems. What you can do next, though, is check out this video for a nice palette cleanser. It's the new lore that we found in patch 11.05, and it points towards where our next major patch will likely be.